I run an Airbnb in Goa and I just completed my first year running it. The fun part is I don't even own this property but do my business on someone else's property. That is a topic that I've covered in my rental arbitrage video here. But in this video, I'll be sharing my whole experience of running an Airbnb in Goa. How much did I make? What was my revenue? What was my profit margin? And whether it is worth it or not. So do watch this video till the end. Now, Airbnb is recently picking up trend in India. A lot of people are getting into the space to explore the money-making opportunity, whether as a passive income. We'll talk about it in this video or maybe in subsequent video if it is possible or not, but also to explore the business side of this industry. Now, this is a lucrative opportunity. The landscape of Airbnb in India is quite nascent and there is a massive potential for anyone to make money. People are recognizing that. However, it is also getting a lot of hate. There are opinions that Airbnb won't work in India. Indian market is not suitable for Airbnb. People don't want to cook in the kitchen while on holidays. They want the luxury of a hotel. All that is true, but for someone like me, Airbnb has really made a lot of changes and I'll explain how in this video. Now, I have been running this Airbnb for the last 1 year and I can tell you my profit margin, which was well above 20%, but you wouldn't believe it. So let me break down the whole story of how much did I make while running an Airbnb in Goa in 2024.
I decided to document and share the real honest truth of what it's like to practically run an Airbnb today. There were ups, downs, monsoon rains when the bookings screeched. But past all that, we are now at the 1 year mark and I can finally share what we really made, what were the costs, and if it all even was worth it.
If you appreciate this honesty and transparency of my journey that I'm sharing with you, do like this video and please consider subscribing because I will be sharing more details, more insider tips and what am I doing on my channel. So let me first start by sharing how much we earned. I will also talk about the seasonality pattern of a market like Goa, which is greatly affected by tourists, and see its impact on the revenue throughout the year.
So from my end, I got a furnished apartment with almost everything in place, except for getting bed linens and toiletries. A pretty good deal, but that also meant a higher rent from my end to the owner. The property was set up and listed on Airbnb on September 10th, 2023, and we got our first booking for 12th September. We are not talking about specific initial challenges while getting the booking or listing on the Airbnb app. That will be a topic for another video.
So I got all the numbers together and in our first year, our property brought in a total of 9,21,356 rupees. Now this includes booking during the peak seasons like Christmas and New Year, which is quite big in Goa, and also covers the slow monsoon months. Now this number is purely the revenue part. It factors in all the cost, all the expenses, all the margins that I made. Nothing has been taken out of this number. Let's take a look at how it breaks down month by month. Now the month on month cost of course varies. If you look at the entire chart throughout the year, we'll first notice that there was a spike during December to March. This is the peak season in Goa. All the tourists are coming during this season. Now we started off in September last year and it started quite a bit slow. November was also less, but to be very honest, we did block a few nights that was for off the chart use by the owner or for some repairs. There was a dip in July and August. Now that accounts for the monsoon months. The tourist footfall, especially in Goa, becomes quite scattered. January was also a little less, which was really surprising. If you have to talk about the seasonality of Goa, there are 3 seasons. The peak seasons are from November, December, January, February. We can also count March in that. You would see a lot of footfall. The second kind of season is the slow but still touristy season. That are the months of September, October, and you can consider April and May. The third season is the off season when rains are pouring in Goa and you almost get 0 to no tourists. Keeping that in perspective, the property did quite well. That was because of the specific amenities of this property and also it was attracting a particular audience type. So all in all, I would say that the year went through highs and lows and we were able to catch on to the peak season trend. There can be a few adjustments that we make this year, so let's see how that turns out. So in total, it was pretty good. Yes, we did start slow. However, we picked it just in time for December and thereafter the season varied. But how are the expenses each month? If there is one key lesson that I've learned from this whole thing, is that running a short-term rental is so much more expensive than you can imagine. So let's understand just how expensive it was. So here's a quick breakdown of monthly expenses as an operator doing Airbnb arbitrage. So for me, I had a fixed rent for this apartment
Of rupees 40,000.
that I was paying every month. Now my electricity bill
Averaged 5,000 per month.
there was a spike during the peak season, but it slowed down during less occupied months. Also, please note that there are 3 ACs in this 2 BHK, which is generally not provided. So again, your electricity costs and bills would vary. Then Goa also mandates a tourism license to run short-term rental, which costs around 6,500 per year. Now, gas cylinder is an expense that can vary greatly. Earlier we used to use induction, but due to demand from our guests and due to convenience, we shifted on to gas. Now that's like a recurring cost every 3 to 4 months, or again, it depends on the usage. The house also demands a maintenance cost, but that is usually paid by the owners. However, it depends on your personal understanding and your lease agreement with the owner. Now, running an Airbnb requires a full-time caretaker that can help the guests check in, along with housekeeping, that is making the property ready. The salaries vary. It is anywhere for a 2 BHK, it is anywhere between 3 to 4K to 5K. Again, it depends on a number of factors. So my total expenses on the upper hand was
49,000 per month.
for this 2 BHK. Other than this, I also keep an emergency fund of rupees 50,000 for last minute repairs and handyman. But to be very frank, I ended
Only using 12,000 of this fund.
Now, if we combine all these expenses together, the total cost of running this one property as an Airbnb
Is 6 lakh rupees plus 12,000 from the emergency fund.
Now is the time for profit analysis. The simple formula is compare your total earnings with your expenses. So, the profit that we made in our first year on Airbnb was
3,21,356 rupees.
Now, this was the profit that I made as a property manager where I don't own the real estate. However, if an owner is willing to run the Airbnb themselves, if they are willing to put in the time and effort, the numbers will vary. Along with that, you can also account for house depreciation and increase in rental yield that will add on to the immediate cash flow.
Now, to look back at the whole operation where I managed the entire property by myself, the cash flow was pretty decent. A good profit margin in this business would be in the range of 15 to 30%. I expanded to more properties earlier this year in 2024 and got them during the slowest season in Goa, so it will be better to analyze these properties later.
For someone who's looking to make use of this opportunity, here are my 2 cents. First, understand the rules, regulations, and property type. The model works wonders only if you are on the correct end of the law. Be compliant, get your license, and do your business while helping others. Second, study the Goa market thoroughly. It is highly seasonal and the slow months can be heavy. Understand its 3 phases, do your pricing and marketing strategy accordingly, but don't obsess over numbers, rather focus on providing experiences to the guests. Third, have clear expectations about property management. Running an Airbnb requires constant attention, especially if you are doing it in Goa. Have your systems in place in case of emergency. And lastly, initial investment versus returns. Be realistic about the initial investment required and the timeline to achieve profitability. The cost of property purchase, if applicable, furnishing, and the operational costs can be substantial. Set financial goals and plan for the long term. We'll discuss about it in the future videos. Running an Airbnb can be profitable, but it comes with its own challenges. You can cut costs by running it by yourself, but even as a passive owner, there is a scope for higher rental if you get a good property manager. The industry is definitely for someone who enjoys hospitality, and if you're willing to put in efforts, it can be super rewarding. All in all, I was super grateful for this opportunity and to share my journey with you. I hope you appreciate this honesty, because honestly, it does get a lot of backlash. I have no incentive to promote Airbnb. In fact, we would discuss in further videos whether it is even worth it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'll keep sharing all tips and tricks. See you on the next video.